So I decided to play Fear and Hunger because I've heard so many good things about it, and by good, I mean it's an incredibly disturbing and relentlessly difficult game. Also, a few people requested I play it, and let me just say, whoever that was, I'm banning you from the channel. I mean, not really, I'm just a very salty penguin right now. The first time I played this game, I played for 11 minutes and noped out of it, content with my experience and having no desire to return. But giving it an actual try this time, I can say for certain that my previous assessment of this game was spot on. My first playthrough was rough, my inexperience clear as I flailed around trying to figure out the combat, resource management, and layout of the dungeon. And after a few hours of getting back into it, I was reminded that out of all the Souls-like experiences out there, turn-based RPGs is probably my least favorite medium. Because at least with Dark Souls, there is the idea of I can get good. My gear and skills may not be optimal, but if I can learn how to dodge and chip away health, I can still defeat the boss. But in Fear and Hunger, I'm at the mercy of RNG. Something I'm very familiar with from gacha gaming, but instead of happily rolling for waifus, I am instead rolling for the chance to not be impregnated by a 10-foot tall giant, whose ding-a-ling is probably as large as my torso and has a stinger at the end of it for some reason. Which, by the way, was mentally one of the more traumatic experiences for me, as it was not obvious what was happening at first and then painfully obvious afterwards. And besides that, it seems the environment wants to also metaphorically screw me over every chance it gets. Bought a potion from a merchant? It was poison. Trusted a mercenary? He robbed me. Read a book? Died from words. Stepped on a rusty nail, died from tetanus. Jumped inside an outhouse, trapped forever in excrement and have to reload the game. Although admittedly, that last one was my fault. I don't know what I was expecting to find down there. I also want to point out that I've only played on the easiest difficulty so far, and I can't even imagine what kind of Bennett Foddy type horror awaits at the higher ones. But after stubbornly pushing forward, I eventually reached the first objective of the game, saving the guard who was imprisoned. Except for one problem. Apparently, I took too long, so he died in custody, and the only thing I could do is leave the dungeon in shame. But technically, I did finish the game since I got an ending. And even though I know people will say in the comments that that's not a canon ending, in my opinion, every ending to a game is canon, and each one is just showing a different possibility. And having done that and reached my limit, I was ready to throw in the towel out of frustration. But I do want to emphasize that even though I'm sounding like I'm complaining a lot, I'm not saying that the game is bad. I just don't have that kind of Natsuki Subaru level of determination to die over and over, gaining inches of progress with each life. And for the Fear and Hunger veterans out there rolling their eyes at my weak attempt, calling me a casual that should go back to playing baby games like Little Kitty Big City, actually, it was Hello Kitty Island Adventure, the Sanrio Animal Crossing game, get it right. And you may hate, but I don't care if the plot and dialogue is a little bit wacky. Your cake engine failed on your plane, so you have to Fortnite dive into Friendship Island, where coincidentally there are abandoned buildings that are equipped with each character's specialty and are already conveniently color-coded, but you have to fix everything because they have zero problem-solving capabilities. And even though some of you might see this as a game for kids, my favorite part of this game is the lack of 3-foot-long murder dongs. But then I was hit with a moment of clarity when talking with my Melody about how fixing this island will be a lot of hard work. And thinking, girl, I'm doing all the work, you've never worked a day in your life. And I realized I too should approach YouTube with the kind of false sense of achievement my Mello has and give the fans an earnest try of Fear and Hunger. And by earnest try, I mean heavily relying on the wiki and YouTube for answers, because it would have taken me days to find some of these things, not to mention the time I save avoiding BS deaths. But then finally reaching what I assumed to be the end game, I then learned about the hunger part of the title. Even with following guides, I had an incredibly hard time navigating this labyrinthian town, traveling to the past and present and solving puzzles. And combining that with having a full party and the amount of backtracking I did made my food stash rapidly decline to the point of starvation. And only then did I realize how stupid I was chugging my snack stash at the beginning. Ironically, the monsters were no longer the issue, even though I still had that little girl in my team who offensively does little but makes up for it by being a good potion slinger and meat shield at least. Hey, don't judge me, the game made me this way. And instead, all of my anxiety shifted to every time I opened my inventory. Do I have enough food to survive? Torches and ale to stay sane? Healing items to stay alive? And this is where I come to a new crossroads. I know that in my current session I probably have enough to barely scrape through to one of the endings, but there's no guarantee that will happen, and I may waste another 4 hours reloading saves and wandering to find a potential solution. Or I could instead start over and better prepare myself to have an easier and more guaranteed run, but I would have to spend all that time running through the dungeon again. A dilemma that sat with me for some time until I remembered that the Color Blaze Carnival and Springtime Celebration events are going on, and I can't miss that.